Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am an average American wanting to go over important political topics. One of my first videos I was wanting to do was to talk about the possibility of implementing mail-in voting across the nation. Some are saying that it is absolutely necessary with the pandemic going on and giving Americans a safe option to vote. And some are saying it'll risk corrupting the voting process and it's not worth risking the election results. Either way, both sides have really good points that we're gonna cover, and at the end I'll go over my thoughts after going over both sides' points of view. So stick around and let's come up with a conclusion together. The first issue that is brought up about the option of vote in by mail is that you should be going in person to cast your vote if you are one of those people who go out in public and go out in crowds and go to the grocery store anyways. It's just as necessary as you grocery shopping as it is to vote in person, and it should not increase your risk any more than you going to the grocery store. And it almost seems hypocritical if you're going to complain about having to go in person to vote if you are not complaining about having to go into gas stations or grocery stores anyway during this pandemic. So that's the first argument that is presented as to why mail-in voting is not necessary. The second reason some people are against mail-in ballots is pretty obvious, and the reason is because it can cause some pretty extreme inaccuracies because the chances of ballots going missing and ballots being filled out incorrectly and being rejected and the possibilities of tampering and fraudulent activity is too high of a risk to take. So the first reason that people are definitely saying that mail-in voting is absolutely necessary, especially during the pandemic, is because there's no way that we're going to be able to wait in line and safely cast our vote in a crowded area that has thousands of people running through there. And we also have to consider the vulnerable and give them an option, because it's kind of ridiculous to ever ask them to go in person and risk themselves even more than they already are at risk to cast their vote. The second reason is pretty simple, and that is that we already have a system in place for the most part that allows mail-in voting, so we're not really taking that much of a risk that we've already been taking in the first place. So in conclusion, I would say that the main 3 points that one side has is that there's definitely a fraud risk. I definitely think you should vote in person and the accuracy needs to be there. The other side that I agree with has to do with the fact that there is the COVID-19 going on. The mail-in process is already existing, and there is the vulnerable that we do have to think about. So in conclusion, my final thoughts and my final opinion on how we can solve this issue is, for one, we really need to focus on healthy Americans being able to vote in person anyway and allowing a vulnerable to choose, and just continuing with what we already have in place as far as mail-in options. So there's still going to be states out there that will allow the mail-in process even if you're not a vulnerable person to the COVID-19, but for the most part I definitely agree it's very hypocritical to be out in public and continuing your lives if you simply can't take the time to go in and vote anyways. So with that being said, that's my final conclusion. I hope you guys agree. Let me know what your opinions are, what comments you have in the comment box down below, and let me know if there's any subjects or topics that you would like me to speak on, and I'd be more than happy to make another video for you guys. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.